everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today in this video I want to take a branch of content away from the usual stuff of what are my plans, and also after inevitably taking a long break, making a video of basically saying sorry for taking a long break, I'm back now. I want to deviate from that sort of stuff which I've seemed to be making a lot of recently, and I'm trying to go back to the go-kart. So for this first video of 2025 that actually has something to do with the go-kart, I want to do... I'm not sure if this is going to be like a multi-part thing or if it's just going to be one episode. I'll see if I can think of more things. I've listed 3 things that I can think of right now. There may be more. If there is more, then I'll make another episode. Otherwise, I will just leave it at this one video. But essentially what I want to do is I want to make a sort of like a 3 things that I have learned from 2024 of restoring my go-kart as my big project and also helping me get into the racing world. And I want to sort of relay onto you guys the 3 really important things that I have learned that hopefully I can bestow that knowledge onto you and you can use that in some way, whether you just find this video entertaining or whether you actually want to get your own go-kart, or if you just want to learn about go-karts. I'm one of many channels you can turn to learn a lot about go-karts. May not seem like it now, but trust me, there's going to be a lot more go-kart content coming. Just, I need to actually get out there first. But I'm doing that, and I will be out there back on the track again pretty soon. And I'm also doing a lot of sim practice as well, so, maybe if I can't get out on the track for some reason, I'll just do sim racing videos. That's something. I know it's not very original, there's a lot of people that do that, but it's something to keep you guys entertained, and it's still useful because I'm going to be racing, so it's still useful. Just, sim racing is never going to quite be the same as actually racing. Actually racing is a whole different world to sim racing. So, enough yapping. I just clapped off camera. I don't know why I did it down here, because you wouldn't have been able to see that, and it made it just a weird noise. So, enough yapping, enough intro. I just want to get straight away into the 3 big things that I have learned from 2024, and 3 reasons sort of why I would recommend that you should buy a older go-kart that is in bad state, and then fix it up to be new, well, pretty much new, rather than just buying a new one outright and then buying the parts for it and then having a legitimately brand new go-kart with 0 kilometers on it. I know I just said 0 kilometers like it's a car, like it's an odometer, but it's the same thing essentially. A go-kart's just a very, very small car. It's basically just a small Mazda MX-5. But yeah, so the 3 things that I've learned. The first one, and arguably what I'd say is probably one of the most important ones, is the hands-on experience. Actually getting to take apart a go-kart and learning how the different parts work, how they all mesh together, how it all comes together, all that stuff is really, really, really useful. And if you want to do any sort of stuff out on track, whether you want to be me, whether you want to chase professional racing like myself, or if you just want to go out there and do it as a hobby, either or, you're going to want to have some knowledge on go-karts, otherwise you're going to have no idea what you're doing, and it's going to be, the first couple years are going to be difficult. So, my first big reason as to why you should buy a go-kart that's in a bad state and restore it instead of just buying a new one is you get to learn practically the ins and outs of a go-kart. How everything works, how everything combines together, how does the fuel tank supply the fuel to the engine, You learn things like the fuel pump has to go on a particular way. If you put it around the wrong way, it's not going to work, and then you won't be able to start the kart. To other things such as restrictor plates and even mufflers on the exhaust as well. There's things that you just won't learn about a kart unless you buy a new car and then take the whole thing apart. But at that point, you may as well have just bought an old one, because then you get to fix it up, and it's just better to do it that way. So the first big reason is because of the hands-on experience and the sheer amount of practical knowledge that you learn that will be very, very useful to you. The second reason, it is cheaper. Much, much cheaper. In fact, part of, as I'm sure any of you people watching the channel who are long-time watchers, maybe you've been here since the very beginning, since I first made the channel in like June or July last year, I think. Well, since I uploaded my first video back then. And what I said is that it was for my Year 12 major work project, but I did want to use it in the future. It wasn't just a project that I was then just going to leave to collect dust. I was actually going to use it. And part of the major work that I had set up was a price comparison between getting a brand new go-kart and how much it cost me to do everything that I did to make my go-kart practically new. And the cost difference was insane. I'll see if maybe I can get a picture up, and if I can, that's great. But if I can't, I'll tell you roughly what I remember. It was like $1,500 cheaper. It was like $1,500 to $2,000 cheaper. It may have even been more than that, but I'm pretty sure it was between $1,500 and $2,000 cheaper to get a used, old, in bad shape kart and restore it to be track worthy and restore it to be as good as a brand new go-kart straight from the factory. It was like $1,500 to $2,000 cheaper at least, which is really big money to save, especially because racing is the most expensive sport in the world. Saving $2,000 is a big deal. That's $2,000 that you can invest in other things that may help you. Like for me, trying to do it professionally, I can invest that $2,000 in so many other things that can help me boost up my chances of getting into a seat. And if you're just doing it as a hobby, well, that's $2,000 that you can spend on your bills or something, your mortgage or something. It's like you have $2,000 that you can spend on things that are like immediate problems, like maybe you've got bills or rent or mortgage if you own a house, like things that just like things that you can't avoid that are like immediate top priority problems. You've just got $2,000 that you can set aside for those problems that will either solve them or help you out a lot. So it's a big deal. So that's two reasons so far. Firstly is that you get a lot more knowledge, the practicality, ins and outs of how everything works. Secondly, it's much, much cheaper. And the final reason is the sheer dopamine hit. How good I felt. I'm pretty sure I made a video way, way back last year, towards the end of last year, how I said that I've hardly ever felt that good in my entire life. The sheer amount of work that I put in to get this go-kart done on time, and then actually have it finished and go out on track and have it all actually work. Like, I'm pretty sure I made a video on that saying how the sheer dopamine hit, like my brain doesn't really get dopamine a huge amount. I don't know if that's some genetic problem that I have that I don't know of yet, or maybe it's just me, that's just how I work. I don't really get dopamine hits from things very easily, which is why it's a massive, massive struggle for me sometimes to work really hard on things that I don't enjoy. But when I do enjoy what I'm doing, like working on the go-kart or any form of racing or motorsport at all, I get the biggest dopamine hits when I'm done with it, and which is why I just chase it more and more and more and more and more, because, I don't get that dopamine from anywhere else, and, I'm not hooked on it, I'm not addicted or anything, like, it's not a drug, but I just want to know that what I did was really difficult, and I managed to pull it off. And look, you're probably not restoring a go-kart under a time constraint like I was, but still, it doesn't matter. It took me a year. If it takes you 2 or 3 years, hey, at least you did it. Most people are never going to restore a go-kart in their entire life. So the fact that you did means that that's something you can be very, very proud of. And that's something that I am very, very proud of. So, yeah, those are the three big reasons why I highly recommend that if you want to get into go-karting or racing as a whole and you want to start with karting, I highly recommend that you choose a older, less good-looking, less functional go-kart and restoring it to being perfect than just buying a new one and just going straight at it. Look, if worst comes to worst, you restore the go-kart, it works for a season, and then it just kicks the bucket, at least you've gained the knowledge. You can sell that kart for scrapyard money and then buy a brand new one, or you can buy another used one and restore that. But at least because you did it once, if you go out there and you buy a brand new go-kart, you're going to know how every single part of that kart works. You're going to know how to take apart the whole thing, clean it all out, make sure it's ready for race day. You're going to know all that. That is stuff that, there are some racing drivers, whether they're trying to get out of karting to reach higher levels or they're just doing it as a hobby, especially for the people chasing racing professionally who are starting in karting, there are a lot of them who just don't know the ins and outs of their go-kart. They rely on their dad or their local mechanic. They just don't know it themselves. And that's where, if you decide to do what I highly recommend you to do and get an old go-kart and restore it up instead of buying a brand new one, if you want to chase racing professionally or just go go-karting as a hobby and you don't want to use the rental karts, you want to have your own personal one, then that's why I highly recommend that you get an old kart and restore it up to brand new. There is just so much benefit with so little to lose. Yeah, the resale value might not be particularly good, but that happens with cars. You restore any sort of car at all, you're going to lose money on it when you sell it, unless it is an super, super rare car that you're never going to see again in your entire life, and you're certainly never going to see one in good condition. Then you might make money off it. But how likely are you to come across something like that? It's once in a lifetime, really. At best, once in a lifetime. So, realistically, taking this back to go-karts, realistically, it is just better that you buy an old go-kart, restore it up to new, use it for its life, push it for as long as you can, and when it's on its last legs or it's kicked the bucket, then you can buy a new go-kart knowing that you have all the knowledge that a lot of your competition will not have. And if you're doing it as a hobby, well, at least you don't have to send it off to the mechanic every time something goes wrong and spend a lot of money on the mechanic when you could learn all that stuff yourself and you could do it all yourself in your garage. It's this really, so many people don't want to work with their hands. So many people don't want to get their hands dirty anymore. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to do all that sort of stuff. They'd rather just get someone else to do it. If you learn how to do this sort of stuff yourself, you are going to have a major leg up over just people in life in general. Obviously, for me, it's more specific to do with racing professionally, and if that's the same goal for you as well, then you got the same reasons as I do. But it just goes in general, you know. People don't want to work with their hands anymore. People don't want to do things like carpenting, mechanics, all that sort of stuff. People don't want to do that sort of stuff anymore. They'd rather just leave that to other people. If you know how to do that sort of stuff yourself, if you know how to work with your hands, you are going to just have a leg up above everyone in all walks of life. But in particular, in racing, you're going to have a leg up over your competition, and that might just land you a seat in the next competition up, and then you just get the ball rolling from there, and you never know. Knowing how to work with your hands, like what I told you to do, you're listening to my advice and learning how to work with your hands and learning how to take apart a go-kart, might just help you get a seat in the competition that you want because you know how that car works and you know how to fix it. You could become a mechanic and then switch to a racing driver, and boom, you're exactly where you want it to be. So obviously it's much more complicated than that, but that's just very simple surface level. So yeah, those are, I know I went on a bit of a tangent, I'm sorry, but yeah, those are the three main reasons why I highly recommend that you get a old, rusty, not very good looking, not much life left in it go-kart and restore it to being new rather than just buying a new one. For those three reasons, being that you get the experience of working with your hands and you know how the kart works, the ins and outs and the mechanics of the kart. The second reason, because it's just cheaper, it's more cost effective. And the last one is just because of the achievement factor. The fact that you did what so many other people just they either couldn't be bothered to do or just flat out have no idea how to do it, and you can just do it like it's just another thing you do on a Sunday afternoon. You can just do it. That's a highly sought after thing. If you have that, you're gonna do well. I promise you. So yeah, those are the three reasons. And yeah, if I can think of any more, then I will upload another one of these episodes. Otherwise, that'll be it. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.